The challenges in Africa is more spiritual than physical, and it can only be tackled spiritually first before we can get any result physically. The challenges in Africa is an ancient challenge that magnified itself when Simon the Syrian helped Jesus to have carried the cross to Golgotha. Satan understood the prophetic action that Simon the Syrian took by helping Jesus with the cross to Golgotha. If that cross had not gotten to Golgotha, there couldn't have been a crucifixion. If there was no crucifixion, there couldn't have been a resurrection. Besides that, it was a prophetic action indicating that Africans are going to be the vessels that God is going to use at this end time to fulfill his end time prophetic agenda concerning the entire universe. Satan understood what took place, and then Satan began to orchestrate plans and purposes on how to frustrate Africans from fulfilling their prophetic destiny. The Bible says in the book of Mark 15, verse 21, and they compelled a passerby, Simon the Syrian, who was coming in from the country, the father of Alexander and Rufus, to carry his cross. Simon the Syrian is from Northern Africa. The question now is, why did God choose an African to be the only person to have touched the cross? It rose a whole lot of attention on the continent of Africa. It rose a whole lot of attention on the Africans. And so Satan, from generation after generations, continued to plan on how to frustrate God's end-time prophetic agenda concerning the Africans. That is why we are facing a whole lot of challenges here in the continent of Africa, and it is necessary we begin to look at the root cause of our problems and how to navigate to give a solution. Africans should begin to pray concerning the continent of Africa, because as long as the continent of Africa is in captivity, the Africans themselves will also be in captivities. And that is why it is necessary that we as Africans should pray for the continent. Also pray for our different nations. We must remember to pray for our regions as well. This will help to solve the problems that is contending with the continent of Africa, because the spiritual affects the natural. We must take it upon ourselves as Africans to see Africa as a mandate, as a mission. We must be committed into the affairs of Africa, and we'll have to realize that it is the spiritual that affects the physical. And until we come to that understanding as Africans, to begin to see the need for us to intercede for this continent, that is only where we begin to have a positive result. Because the challenges in Africa is more than what we can see physically. It has to do with the spiritual. And the challenges is both internal and external. And we need to carry out some prayers in order to bring a deliverance into the continent of Africa, so that there will be a restoration, there will be a kind of intervention for God to restore the dignity of the continent of Africa. It is we as Africans that will need to get involved by remembering to pray for the continent of Africa daily. Let us get committed into our continent. The time is now.